Good evening. I know, thank you, Louis, my brother, for such kind words. And I want to thank you, Carrie Kennedy, the RFK Human Rights Foundation team, and the entire Kennedy family. I want to thank my beautiful wife, Liz, who's here with me, as well as my daughter, Alyssa, and also some of my kids who cannot be here, Isabella, little Martin, Julian, and Emilio. I also want to thank my beautiful mother as well, Christina Cabrera, who's here with me, as well as my two sisters, Tanya and Sophia. I also want to thank my business partner and president of Cabrera Capital, Robert Aguilar, who I've been with them since college, so thank you, Robert, for all your love and passion. And we have a large contingent from Chicago tonight, including my St. Ignatius family from St. Ignatius College Prep, as well as folks from our business and civic community, and also business leaders from New York, LA, and Houston. So thank you for taking the time. Thank also for my clients. Thank you for trusting us and giving us the opportunity to be great. I wouldn't be up here without your support. And to my Cabrera Capital team and family, you compete to be the best, but you also show up to give support, give back, serve, and make a difference. And it's an incredible honor to be recognized alongside Stephen Colbert, Magic Johnson, and Darren Walker. And this award was given to me, has given me a chance to slow down and reflect on the impact that we can have on the world. This award is not about business success. It's about how we use whatever success we've had to serve others and to create ripples of hope. In his now famous Ripples of Hope speech in Cape Town, South Africa, Bobby Kennedy said that each time a person stands up for what is right, acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, they send forth a tiny ripple of hope. And if I've ever been able to create some ripples, it's by taking what I do well in business and using it to give back and have an impact on something that's bigger than me. I think of Carrie Kennedy's grandfather, Joe Sr., leveraging his business skills in a way that created ripples that helped bring all of us here today. I grew up on the southwest side of Chicago in Little Village neighborhood, and most of you aren't from Chicago, but you'll know what I mean when I say the southwest side. And it was a poor and tough neighborhood, and we used to joke back then that we were broke as the 10 Commandments. And although we didn't have a lot of resources and we struggled to put food on the table, we were surrounded by family and an immense outpouring of love. There were a lot of gangs growing up, and I had plenty of fist fights as a kid. I lost my father, Martin Sr., when I was 16, and about 7 years later, I lost my brother, Louis. And as a kid, I got into a lot of trouble, and most people didn't expect me to get out of the neighborhood, or much less kind of survive it. What saved me, what put me on the right path, was my Catholic faith. St. Ignatius, the founder of the Jesuit order, is known for his emphasis on service, generosity, action over words, and finding God in all things. Ignatius is famous for saying, "Ite inflammate omnia," go set the world on fire. And don't worry, he didn't mean it literally. It was just really that he wanted everyone to live their life with passion, faith, and love, and to bring positive change to the world. And it wasn't until later in life that I found that. And I carry that sense of service for my clients, for my family, and my community. I try to live that Ignatian philosophy of service, of men and women for others. And I've seen firsthand how business can be the force of good. And I believe success is measured not just in the numbers we report, but the impact and change and improvement that we can have. I've been able to send positive ripples out into the world, but they didn't begin in my boardroom in my office. That ripple began in 1918 when my grandfather, Emilio Cabrera, was born in Los Angeles. LA, as you know, was the Ellis Island for millions of Mexicans seeking a better life in the United States. And in 1929, the stock market crashed, caused a Great Depression, and hit the economy. And in Los Angeles, it fueled a strong anti-immigrant sentiment among federal, state, and local officials. And in 1930, the US passed the Mexican Repatriation Act and deported over 2 million people to Mexico. About 60% of them were US citizens, one of them being my grandfather, Emilio. He, his sister, and his mother were rounded up, herded into a boxcar at Union Station, and deported to Mexico. But this is a story of resilience. 20 years later, in 1950, Emilio returned back to the United States, his country of birth, and he worked hard and sent money back home to my grandmother and his 3 children. And he returned back to Mexico to bring them back to the United States and set up a life in Chicago. When I was about 8 years old, I would go with my grandfather to Petrowski Park there in the neighborhood, and we would go and collect cans and put them in large garbage bags and take them to the recycling center for a few bucks. And he would tell me stories about his childhood of being deported. And at that age, I didn't realize what the immigration laws were, but I did realize later in life that he was a US citizen and should never have been deported. What struck me was that he wasn't upset, wasn't angry, or even resentful. It was just part of life's struggles. And he didn't look for excuses. He focused on the future, worked hard, and provided for his family. And today, when I walk through those same streets of Chicago's little village neighborhood, I carry that lesson with me. His resilience, passion, and perseverance have shaped who I am. So I feel a responsibility and an obligation to open doors for others. And I wish that Mexican experience was unique, but it's not. And every ethnic immigrant group that has come to this country has experienced bigotry, irrational hatred, and hardship. And the Kennedys know this story all too well. The Irish immigrants in the late 1840s and 50s came here searching for dignity and were beaten in the streets of New York, Chicago, Boston, and Philadelphia. Looking for opportunity, they were met with signs that said, "No Irish need apply." Even the Italian immigrant community, there were immigrants that were lynched by a mob of thousands in New Orleans in 1981. And the Jewish community came seeking the American dream, and they were faced with anti-Semitism, cultural clashes, and housing discrimination. Or the African American community, and one of my heroes, Martin Luther King Jr., paying the ultimate sacrifice with his life to fight against hate and discrimination. Today, decades after my grandfather was deported, children in my own city of Chicago are living that same fear. 95 years later, history is repeating itself. This is not someone else's problem, it is ours. Bobby Kennedy was taken from us 57 years ago, but we are still remembering him and is honoring his values. There are many great leaders in this room, from business executives, elected officials, actors, actresses, financiers, civic and non-for-profit leaders who have taken their skills and talents and have turned them into a ripple of hope for others. We have the ability to make a change in this world. How will we be remembered in life? And what will be your legacy? And in closing, I want to say that if and when the good Lord comes calling my name, and if I'm only remembered as a good businessman, then I have failed in my faith, in my family, and in my community. I want to leave you with 2 images. the first of a young boy that's 12 years old, an American citizen, rounded up and deported 95 years ago, who had no voice. The second is an image I'm asking you to create of how you will be remembered. Tonight is about hope, and this has to be one of the greatest gatherings of optimism our country has experienced all year. My ask of you leaders across the country is to join Bobby Kennedy's call to have an impact. When we choose faith over fear, service over comfort, community over division, we send a ripple of hope. Let tonight be a call to continue our progress, to persevere with faith, to lead with compassion, and to never lose sight of the truth that each of us has the power to bend the arc of history towards justice. Anyone can make a buck, but it takes someone special to make a difference. God bless you, and good night. Thank you.